If we expect employees to be productive, we must help them understand their jobs and how to do them. A vital part of this employee management process is establishing objectives and then communicating them. That's why LifeTouch developed this training tool. The program contains information about a simple, effective, and consistent method for establishing employee objectives. This tool is designed to assist you in your work as a manager. This is Bob. He's responsible for 2 LifeTouch employees in his department. Hi, Bob. How's it going?
Hi. Those 2 employees you just mentioned, well, they're up for performance review next Tuesday, and I'm not ready.
What's the problem? You've done this before, haven't you?
Sure, but this time I'd like it to go different.
Why?
Well, I'd like to do a better job. Things right now are inconsistent, and these performance objectives I'm writing up for next Tuesday, well, they're tough, and I'm not really sure I know where to begin. And I'm not sure that I know a good objective from a not-so-hot one. On top of that, there are different types of objectives, and I'm not really sure I get that part either. So for me, establishing objectives is a hit-or-miss process, if you know what I mean. There's got to be a better way.
You're in luck, Bob. There is a better way, and here's how it works. Before you do anything, make sure you understand the LifeTouch business goals and the business goals of your department. Then, based on your understanding of the goals, develop your employee objectives so that they contribute to these goals. Objectives that do not contribute to the business goals of both the company and the department are not good objectives.
Okay, good objectives, that's what we're after, right? But there are different types of objectives. That's where I need some clarity.
Good point. For our purposes, there are 2 considerations: tactical objectives and behavioral factors.
Okay, tactical objectives and behavioral factors. Which one first?
Tactical. We always start there. These are black and white objectives that help you set a pattern or system for establishing goals.
Oh, so tactical objectives are quantifiable?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready. How do I write a good tactical objective?
Good question. A good objective has the following characteristics. A good goal is time-bounded, attainable, meaningful, and measurable. Remember TAMM, TAM. Let's take a closer look at the 4 characteristics of a good employee objective. Time-bounded means setting a time frame for completing the objective. Be specific. It's better to say June 15th than 1 month from now. Ask yourself if the objective is attainable. Can it be reached? Is it reasonable? How much of a stretch will it be? Is the objective meaningful? Does it support business goals? Does it have value and substance? Can you measure the progress of the objective and the results? A good employee objective has all 4 characteristics: time-bounded, attainable, meaningful, measurable. Let's check in with Bob to see how we're doing.
Okay, this is a good start. I like it.
Want to try an exercise?
Sure.
Objective number 1, a complete revision of the School Portrait Day safety rules. Is this a good employee objective?
No, not really. It's not time-bounded.
Right. Is it attainable?
Oh, probably.
Is it meaningful?
Yes.
Is it measurable?
I don't see how, no.
So this is not a good objective?
No, it's missing 2 of the characteristics.
Right. Let's write it another way.
Sure.
Complete a revision of School Portrait Day safety rules A, B, and C by June 15th of next year.
Okay, let me work this out. It's time-bounded. It's probably attainable. It's meaningful. And it's measurable. I'd say this is a good objective.
Right. Let's try another one.
Sure.
Complete the conversion of all computer software by noon next Tuesday.
Wow, I'd hate to be in this guy's shoes. Okay, it's time-bounded, it's measurable, it's meaningful, but it's not attainable. I'd say this is nearly impossible. I'd say this is not a good employee objective.
How would you restate it?
Well, complete the conversion of all computer software in 6 months. I'm not an expert, but I think this is more doable in 6 months than by next week.
I think that'll work. So let's review. Remember TAM, T-A-M-M. A good tactical objective is time-bounded, attainable, meaningful, and measurable. TAM. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll look at behavioral factors. In Part 1, we looked at tactical objectives. In Part 2, we focus on behavioral factors. They're the impressions you have of how the employee completed his or her tactical objectives. Behavioral factors are subjective in nature and not quantifiable. Behavioral factors include the following: attitude, passion, judgment, communication, influence, team player, and discretion. Once you've established the tactical objectives, you'll need to discuss these with your employee. Be sure to also review the behavioral factors and how they'll impact your impression of their overall performance. Before we get into the details of behavior, let's watch a short scene with Bob and an employee to hear how behavioral factors sound when they're expressed. In this scene, Bob is giving feedback during a performance review. We catch the conversation already in progress.
Well, Lisa, you've completed all your tactical objectives. That's great. However, your use of influence and judgment need to improve.
Oh?
Yes. Well, for example, at your first organizational meeting in July, you simply said to the group, "This is how it should be done." You didn't really use your influence to solicit opinions, and as a consequence, you lost favor with members of your group. Also, you showed marginal judgment in terms of timing your presentation to the management committee in December. And I think it would have been the right decision to wait until all the data was in.
Yeah, I can see that now.
Well, let's look ahead and plan your performance objectives for the coming year. I'd like to see you target influence and judgment as 2 areas for improvement.
That's how behavioral factors sound when expressed to an employee. Even though behavioral factors are subjective, communicating impressions is your responsibility as a manager. That's why it's important to take note of specific instances where an employee demonstrates a need for behavioral improvement. Subjective evaluations of behavior need to be backed up with specific examples from the workplace. Now, let's look at behavioral factors in more detail. Let's focus on 4 behaviors: attitude, judgment, decision-making, and influence. Attitude. An employee can express a strong positive attitude toward the accomplishment of an objective or express a non-positive attitude. Judgment. An employee can demonstrate good judgment in his or her effort to complete the objective or use bad judgment. Decision-making. An employee can demonstrate a well-thought-out process of actions and consequences, or demonstrate weak or limited thinking regarding actions and consequences. Influence. An employee can present an action plan with good timing and anticipate objections and roadblocks, or can present an action plan with poor timing and little or no thought to objections and roadblocks. If you're asking yourself to what extent behavioral factors affect tactical objectives, consider this. The behavioral factors are used to adjust the overall rating for the tactical objectives by 10 to 15%. Let's take a brief moment to review everything we've covered in parts 1 and 2. When establishing employee objectives, focus on tactical objectives way, ready to apply the principles of this simple process. Establishing employee objectives will now be easier and more effective. At Lisa's next performance review, Bob will be better prepared to assess accurately whether or not she completed her objectives. He'll also be prepared to moderate his assessment by relating impressions of her work, especially how well she applied both positive and productive behaviors. Thank you for participating in this program. We hope you find it useful.